The blizzard howled mercilessly through the remote countryside, whipping up snow that covered everything in a thick, icy blanket. The wind rattled the windows of a small, secluded cabin nestled between towering pine trees. Inside, Daniel Hayes, a retired forest ranger, sat by a crackling fire, his hands wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee. The storm had trapped him indoors for days, and the howling wind outside was the only sound breaking the stillness. Daniel was used to isolation. After years of working in the forest, he found peace in solitude. But tonight felt different. An uneasy feeling tugged at his chest. Then, through the roar of the storm, Daniel heard it. A faint scratching, barely audible, followed by a soft, desperate whimper. He set his mug down slowly, the unease growing. Was it the wind? He strained to listen. There it was again. Rising from his chair, Daniel moved cautiously toward the door. The sound grew clearer, more urgent. He flicked on the porch light, illuminating a swirl of snow, and peered through the frosted glass. What he saw made his breath catch. There, huddled against the door, was a Siberian Husky, her thick fur crusted with ice and snow. Her piercing blue eyes locked onto his, filled with fear and desperation. Tucked tightly against her shivering body were two tiny puppies, barely moving, half buried in snow. The mother Husky trembled violently, shielding her pups from the freezing wind. Daniel's hand hovered over the doorknob. He hesitated for a split second. He knew wild animals could be unpredictable when cornered, but this dog wasn't wild. She was exhausted, beaten by the storm, yet fiercely protective of her pups. His heart clenched. Without another thought, Daniel swung the door open. A blast of icy wind hit him, but he ignored it. "Come on, girl," he coaxed softly, crouching to appear less threatening. "Let me help you." The Husky didn't move. She glanced at her puppies, then back at Daniel. A low, hesitant whimper escaped her throat. Slowly, she nudged one of the pups forward with her nose. Its tiny body stumbled in the snow. Daniel reached forward cautiously. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." With painstaking slowness, the Husky stepped inside, gripping the scruff of one pup in her jaws while the other stumbled beside her. Once they crossed the threshold, Daniel closed the door firmly behind them, shutting out the raging storm. The sudden warmth overwhelmed the mother Husky. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the wooden floor, pulling her pups close. Daniel grabbed an old wool blanket from the couch and draped it over them. The mother flinched, but didn't resist. "You're safe now," Daniel murmured, his voice soft but steady. He quickly filled a bowl with warm water and placed it nearby. The Husky eyed it warily, but soon leaned forward to drink. The puppies, frail, barely moving, pressed into her side, seeking warmth. Daniel knelt beside them, careful not to get too close. His eyes softened as he took in their fragile state. "Where did you come from?" he whispered, more to himself than to her. The Husky lifted her head slightly, locking eyes with him once more. In that moment, Daniel knew she understood. And just like that, a silent promise formed in his heart. He wouldn't let them suffer another moment. The storm raged on outside, but inside the cabin, the air was still and heavy with concern. Daniel crouched beside the shivering Husky and her fragile puppies, carefully observing their condition. The mother's breathing was shallow, her body weak from the relentless cold. The pups, barely larger than his hands, whimpered softly, their tiny bodies trembling. Daniel knew they wouldn't survive the night without immediate warmth. He sprang into action, grabbing extra blankets from a storage chest and carefully layering them around the exhausted family. He placed a heating pad under the blankets, set to the lowest setting, ensuring it wouldn't be too hot for the fragile pups. The mother husky lifted her head slightly, eyeing Daniel with a cautious gaze, but there was no aggression in her eyes, only fatigue and guarded trust. Daniel moved to the kitchen and warmed up a bowl of chicken broth, thin but nourishing. Returning slowly, he placed the bowl near the husky. "It's okay, girl. It's just broth, gentle on the stomach." The husky sniffed cautiously, then began to lap it up, pausing only to check on her pups. Daniel smiled faintly. "That's it. You need your strength." Still, the pups remained worryingly still. Their small bodies struggled to absorb the warmth. Daniel knew they needed more than heat. They needed nourishment. He searched his cabinets and found a baby bottle he had once used for orphaned wildlife. Carefully, he warmed some goat's milk, knowing it was gentle for newborn animals. Gently, he approached the mother, holding the bottle low. "Let me help," he whispered. For a tense moment, the husky stiffened, but she didn't move away. Daniel softly picked up one of the pups and carefully guided the bottle to its mouth. Slowly, it latched on, drawing in the warm milk. The tiny pup's weak movements gave Daniel hope. Hours passed slowly. Daniel remained by their side, feeding the pups and making sure the mother had water and broth. He added wood to the fire, keeping the cabin comfortably warm. The storm still roared outside, but the warmth of the fire and the comfort of the blankets cocooned the fragile family in safety. By morning, the storm began to weaken. The first light of dawn seeped through the frost-covered windows. Daniel stretched his stiff muscles, having dozed off in the armchair, but his first thought was of the husky and her pups. To his relief, the puppies were nestled close to their mother, sleeping soundly. Their tiny bellies rose and fell with each peaceful breath. The husky lifted her head as Daniel approached, her eyes softer now, as if recognizing that he meant no harm. Daniel knelt beside her. "You're safe now, girl, but we need to get you all checked out." Later that morning, Daniel bundled the husky and her puppies into the truck, wrapping them securely in blankets. The storm had passed, but the air was still biting cold. He drove carefully through the snow-covered roads toward the nearest veterinary clinic, a small but trusted facility run by Dr. Harper, a kind-hearted woman known for helping strays. When Daniel arrived, Dr. Harper rushed to greet him. "Daniel, what happened?" He quickly explained as Dr. Harper examined the dogs. She gently ran her hands over the husky's thin frame. "She's severely malnourished but strong. The puppies are fragile, but they're fighters." Dr. Harper gave the husky food fluids and checked the pups for frostbite. "They're lucky you found them when you did," she said, shaking her head. "Another night out there and they wouldn't have made it." Daniel sighed in relief. She didn't give up on them. She shielded them with everything she had. The husky was slowly regaining strength. She watched Daniel and Dr. Harper closely, but didn't growl or shy away. "She's trusting you," Dr. Harper observed. "That's rare for a dog that's been through trauma." Daniel gently scratched behind her ears. "She's brave. She deserves a name." Dr. Harper smiled. "What about Luna? Strong and resilient, like the moon." Daniel nodded thoughtfully. "Luna it is." Daniel decided to take Luna and her puppies back to the cabin to continue their recovery. The clinic had stabilized them, but Daniel knew that Luna would heal best in a calm, familiar environment. As they drove back, Daniel glanced at Luna resting in the passenger seat, her head lightly resting on the seatbelt. One of the puppies squeaked softly from the blanket-covered basket in the back seat. Daniel chuckled. "You've got a long road ahead, Luna, but you're not alone anymore." Luna let out a soft sigh, her icy blue eyes closing peacefully. For the first time in days, she could rest, knowing her puppies were safe. Back at the cabin, the storm had long passed, leaving behind a quiet, snow-blanketed landscape. The harsh winds were gone, replaced by a calm, cold stillness. Daniel carried Luna gently into the house, her body still weak but far stronger than when he had first found her. The puppies, now more lively, squirmed in the blanket he carried in his other arm. Daniel carefully placed Luna on the soft bedding he had arranged near the fireplace. The pups nestled against her side, squeaking softly as they searched for warmth. Luna watched Daniel with calm, trusting eyes. She no longer flinched at his movements or guarded herself. She knew she was safe. Over the next several days, the cabin transformed into a sanctuary. Daniel dedicated himself fully to Luna and her pups. He prepared soft meals, sat beside them for hours, and even softly spoke to Luna, sharing stories of his days as a ranger and the peaceful life he had built in this secluded cabin. Luna's health gradually improved. She grew stronger with each passing day, her once weak frame filling out with strength and energy. Her coat began to regain its natural shine, and her piercing blue eyes sparkled with life. The puppies, too, became more active, nipping playfully at each other and attempting to wobble around on unsteady legs. One crisp morning, Daniel opened the front door to let in the cool air. Luna followed him cautiously, the snow crunching beneath her paws. She took a few tentative steps onto the porch, her nose lifted to sniff the air. For the first time since the storm, Luna looked free, no longer weighed down by exhaustion and fear. Daniel chuckled. "Go ahead, girl. This is your home now." Luna took a few more steps, then paused to glance back at him. With a burst of energy, she dashed into the snow, rolling playfully before returning to check on her puppies. Daniel watched with a warm smile. She was finally beginning to enjoy life again. Later that day, Daniel decided to visit the town with Luna. He wanted to see if anyone recognized her and knew where she had come from. Luna sat quietly in the passenger seat, her eyes scanning the passing trees and snowy roads. The puppies were safe at home, bundled in warm blankets by the fire. At the local general store, Daniel shared Luna's story with anyone who would listen. Flyers were pinned on bulletin boards, and word spread quickly. But no one claimed Luna. No one recognized her. After hours of searching for answers, Daniel returned to the cabin. He crouched beside Luna, scratching behind her ears. "Seems like you don't belong to anyone," he said softly, "but you do now." Luna leaned into his touch, a low, contented rumble in her throat. As more time passed, Daniel couldn't ignore the growing bond between them. Luna followed him wherever he went, her loyalty unwavering. Whether chopping wood or hiking the nearby trails, Luna was at his side, stronger and more confident each day. Daniel knew then what he had to do. He returned to the town's animal shelter to make it official. Standing at the counter, Daniel filled out the adoption papers. The woman at the desk smiled warmly. "So, you're keeping her?" Daniel looked down at Luna, who sat calmly beside him. "She found me," he replied. "Now, she's home." The paperwork was signed, and just like that, Luna wasn't a stray anymore. She was family. Back at the cabin, Daniel celebrated with a quiet evening by the fire. Luna curled up beside him while the puppies slept soundly. Daniel gazed into the flames, thinking about how much had changed in just a few weeks. "You're safe now," he whispered, stroking Luna's fur. "No more storms, no more cold." Outside, the world was still and peaceful, blanketed in soft snow. But inside, the warmth of home and love filled every corner. And so, A man once alone in the woods now had a loyal husky and her growing puppies to share his life with. A family forged not by blood, but by kindness, resilience, and the will to survive. Winter slowly loosened its grip on the landscape as the snow began to melt, revealing patches of earth beneath the white blanket. The forest around Daniel's cabin seemed to breathe again, the stillness replaced by the soft sounds of thawing streams and distant birdsong. Inside the cabin, life was vibrant and full. Luna had fully regained her strength. Her thick, silvery husky coat gleamed in the soft morning light, and her piercing blue eyes sparkled with energy. Her puppies, once frail and fragile, had grown into playful, curious bundles of fur. They scampered around the cabin, tumbling over one another with joyful yips. Daniel watched them with a satisfied smile. "You've got your paws full, huh, Luna?" he chuckled, sipping his coffee as Luna kept a patient but watchful eye on her mischievous pups. The bond between Daniel and Luna had grown unbreakable. They had developed a routine that felt natural, like they had always been a part of each other's lives. Daniel would take Luna and her puppies on short walks through the forest trails, letting them explore under Luna's careful supervision. Luna, once timid and cautious, now ran freely through the trees, her pups chasing after her, their tiny legs struggling to keep up. Daniel would often pause to watch them, his heart full. He had lived alone for years, but now his quiet cabin was alive with energy and warmth. One afternoon, as Daniel was stacking firewood, a familiar truck rumbled up the snowy path to his cabin. It was Dr. Harper from the veterinary clinic. She stepped out, waving with a broad smile. Luna perked up, recognizing the kind woman who had helped her recover. "I had to come check on my favorite patients," Dr. Harper teased, approaching Luna and kneeling to greet the puppies. Daniel grinned. "They're doing better than I ever expected." Dr. Harper laughed as one of the puppies chewed on her bootlace. "It's amazing how much love and safety can heal. You've done a great job, Daniel." Daniel's eyes softened. "They saved me too, you know. I didn't realize how quiet life had become until they filled it with noise." Dr. Harper smiled knowingly. "Well, they're lucky to have you." As spring slowly approached, Daniel began repairing the old fence around his property. Luna followed him, watching curiously as he hammered in new wooden posts. The puppies, ever adventurous, tried to help, tugging on pieces of rope and chasing after falling wood chips. Daniel laughed. "Not sure you're helping, but I appreciate the effort." The fence wasn't just for marking his land anymore. It was to create a safe space where Luna and her pups could run freely without fear. Daniel wanted to give them more than just shelter. He wanted them to feel that this was their forever home. One morning, Daniel decided to take Luna for a longer hike up the mountain trail behind the cabin. The snow had melted enough to reveal the rocky path, and Luna eagerly bounded ahead. The air was crisp, and the forest was awakening with life. At the top of the trail, they paused to take in the view. The vast forest stretched endlessly, kissed by the morning sun. Luna stood at the edge of the cliff, her ears perked and fur blowing in the wind. Daniel stood beside her, breathing in the fresh mountain air. "You've come a long way, girl," he said softly. Luna glanced at him and let out a soft bark, as if agreeing. Daniel knelt beside her, scratching behind her ears. "I think we both have." Returning home, Daniel noticed how the puppies had begun to show their individual personalities. One was bold and adventurous, always leading the others into trouble. Another was gentle and calm, content to sit by Luna's side. The smallest was endlessly curious, sniffing and exploring every corner of the cabin. Daniel began to consider their future. They deserved loving homes, families who would care for them as deeply as he cared for Luna, but the thought of parting with them tugged at his heart. One evening, sitting by the fire, Daniel spoke aloud. "We can't keep all of them, Luna, but we'll make sure they go to good homes." Luna rested her head on his knee, as if understanding. Daniel returned to town with the puppies a week later. He spoke with Dr. Harper in the local shelter, carefully selecting families that would give each pup the love and care they deserved. Slowly, one by one, the puppies found new homes. Daniel stayed in touch with each family, receiving pictures and updates that filled him with pride. Only one pup remained, the smallest, the curious one who never left Luna's side. Daniel smiled as he watched the little one curl up beside Luna. "I guess this one's staying," he chuckled. Luna licked her pup's head gently, as if confirming his decision. Daniel sat on the porch that evening, Luna and her pup at his feet. The stars shimmered in the sky, and the forest whispered in the breeze. Looking down at them, Daniel felt an overwhelming sense of peace. We're exactly where we're supposed to be. Spring had fully arrived, casting a warm glow over the forest that surrounded Daniel's cabin. The snow was long gone, replaced by vibrant wildflowers and the gentle hum of bees drifting through the air. The once quiet cabin now echoed with soft laughter and playful barks, though the energy had settled into a peaceful rhythm. Luna basked in the sunshine on the porch, her thick husky coat gleaming under the golden light. At her side, her remaining pup dozed comfortably, their breaths slow and even. Daniel leaned against the porch railing, watching them with a quiet smile. The forest no longer felt empty. It felt alive, like every tree and breeze carried the warmth of family. Daniel often thought back to the brutal storm that had brought Luna into his life. The image of her huddled against his door, shielding her puppies from the merciless cold, seemed like a distant memory now. Luna had come so far, from that fragile, desperate mother to the strong, joyful spirit that now filled his home with life. "I think fate had a hand in this," Daniel murmured, reaching down to stroke Luna's head. She leaned into his touch, her blue eyes half closed in contentment. News of Luna's rescue and recovery had quietly spread throughout the nearby town. Inspired by her story, many locals had stepped forward to adopt stray and abandoned animals. Donations to Dr. Harper's clinic and the local shelter had increased, ensuring better care for animals in need. Dr. Harper often visited the cabin, delighted to see Luna and her pup thriving. "You know, Daniel," she teased one afternoon, watching Luna chase after her pup in the yard, "you could turn this place into a sanctuary." Daniel laughed, shaking his head. "I think we're already halfway there." One morning, Daniel decided to take Luna and her pup on a longer hike through the forest. They followed a winding trail that led to a quiet lake, a hidden gem Daniel had discovered years ago. The water shimmered under the clear sky, reflecting the towering trees that surrounded it. Luna sprinted ahead, barking excitedly as she splashed into the shallow water. Her pup followed, clumsily tumbling into the cool lake with a splash. Daniel sat on a smooth rock near the shore, watching them play. "This is the life you deserve, Luna," he said softly. "Free, happy, and loved." Luna barked in response, shaking off water and sending droplets sparkling in the air. As the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow over the lake, Daniel felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He realized how much Luna had changed him. She had reminded him that even in the darkest storms, light could find a way through. "You saved them, and somehow, you saved me too," he whispered. Luna trotted over, her pup at her side, and rested her head on Daniel's knee. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes. That night, as they returned to the cabin, Daniel sat on the porch, watching the stars appear one by one. Luna lay beside him, her pup curled up close. The forest was quiet, peaceful. Daniel exhaled slowly, a deep, satisfied breath. "Home," he said quietly, glancing at Luna. "This is home." If Luna's journey touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep spreading stories of hope and kindness, because every act of compassion can change a life.